Hi, guys. Welcome back to the Authentic Society. I'm Jayme, your now only host. Um, so where to start? I am going to try to be as organic, genuine, real, and as authentic as I can be for this episode. I've sat down to record this several times, and I either feel like I'm rambling or I'm not giving you enough information. It's hard to find an in between. But if you are here to figure out what the hell I'm doing, well, join the club. And hopefully by the end of this episode, we both have more clarity, because I wouldn't be being honest if I didn't tell you I was nervous or scared or really confused by what the hell I'm doing. I have a little liquid courage, just cracked open a White Claw, and I think the best way to have this podcast is to treat it like we're having a girl chat. I want to treat it like I'm sitting down talking to one of my girlfriends about reinventing a podcast that I had a vision for. So, yeah, let's get into it. Before we get into it, I think it's important to have some backstory on how we got to where we are. So, June 2023, I was fresh out of teaching. I had taught for 3 years and I was completely miserable. And I didn't really know the direction I wanted my life to go. I knew I didn't want to teach, and I kind of wanted to get into marketing, but I also wanted to start a podcast. And I started somewhat basic, my first podcast with my friend Kylie. And that podcast was really about us having fun. We both like to talk about fashion and pop culture and reality TV. So we were like, let's start a podcast. And that's what we did. And it was such a fun and creative outlet for me after being in teaching and feeling like all my creative mind had been shoved away and I was a shell of a person. And I learned a lot through that podcast, and I had a lot of fun. We interviewed guests like Tiger King and TikTok personalities and authors and actresses and actors. And I interviewed Madison, and that's how I got to know her. We lived in the same area, and I was the first podcast she ever came on, which was huge. And we became friends. You know, I had just entered the marketing world again. We talked a lot about podcasting and marketing, and we became friends. So, about July of 2024 last year, I realized somewhat basic wasn't the route I wanted to continue taking when it came to podcasting. I wanted to do something more real and had more depth. And so I created the vision for the Authentic Society. And really, that vision was to be so authentic, it makes people uncomfortable. Because I think our world with social media is so saturated and so fake. And I'm guilty of that as well. Putting out things on the internet to make them look better than they really are. And I find myself gravitating towards podcasts or creators that are just putting it out there for better or for worse. I think so many people are afraid to say what they truly feel. And I think we need more authenticity in this world. And that's what I wanted to bring. And I know that sounds so big, because how can one girl bring a community of women that can relate and be genuine and share their stories and not feel judgment. That feels impossible some days. But I knew I wanted to try. So the Authentic Society was born, and I came up with all sorts of things I wanted to discuss and talk about. And really, they were revolved around being a 28-year-old woman, married, working, trying to figure a life out. And so when I approached Madison about the Authentic Society, I really was like, I'm ready. I'm ready to lay it all out there for my life. I'm ready to tell people, for better or for worse, this is who I am. And I want to find women on the internet that relate, and I can build a community. And I can do something I love while I do it, which is podcasting. And so I got her on board, and, we kind of created this vision together of where we wanted things to go. And ultimately, sometimes visions can be different. I've been asked all morning, all week, why did Madison leave? What's the tea? What's the drama? And I don't want to leave you guys hanging, because I'm blunt and I could do so many things with this podcast and leave people for clickbait and get you to tune in. But I'm going to tell you something about myself. I am a girl's girl, and I do not want my success to be based off putting another woman down. If that's how I have to get success, then I don't want it. I want nothing to do with putting another woman down just to get followers or numbers. That is not who I am. That's not how I want to grow this podcast. And you won't see that. Madison and I are very different, but we're still friends. And I know that's not what you guys wanted to hear. I know you wanted me to come on here and spill tea, but I'm not gonna, sugarcoat it, and I'm not gonna dance around it. We're friends. I respect Madison a ton, and we just wanted different things. And I think when two mature adult women can sit down and have a conversation and say, we want different things, that doesn't mean anybody needs to be angry. That doesn't mean there needs to be drama. That just means we want different things. I'm going to support her on all of her future endeavors. I can't wait to see Tata Farms in person one day. And I know that she's excited to see where I can take this, because she does genuinely love the idea and concept for the Authentic Society. And I would be a fraud to sit here and build a fan base or an audience on spilling tea to pit women against each other. And I don't want to do that. For one, because there is no drama. We ended things on really good terms. And for two, that's just not who I am. I know a lot of followers came to the Authentic Society because of Madison and the tea she wanted to spill or didn't want to spill, and because of her being on TV in the TV show. I get people will leave because that's no longer going to happen. And that's okay. My decision with keeping the Authentic Society, I had to learn that it was okay that people were going to leave, and that some people aren't going to like me. My value is not put into people who don't know me. And I've had an unbelievable amount of hate comments in the last week. And lucky for them, I don't put my value into people that don't know me. I put my value into people who do know me and love me, and how I love myself. and who I think I am and who I can tolerate in the mirror. And I completely understand if this podcast, you listen to this episode and you go, unfollow. I get that. I know people are going to do that. And I completely understand. I want to create a community based off women that want to be here and enjoy listening to me. And if you don't, that's all right. I get it. So with that being said, I have gotten a lot of I've gotten to know some of you guys online, and some of you are so genuine and honest and relatable. And really, when I was thinking about what I wanted for the Authentic Society this year, it's that. I want a community of women that are honest, judgment-free, and we can share stories and we can have fun. And because life is so damn serious, that I want to have a podcast that's, it's authentic, but it's authentic about everything, even the funny things in life and the embarrassing things. I still have so much I can share, about why I love teaching, or friendship breakups, or work environments, or whatever it may be. I know I bring value and I can bring something to the table. Yes, I'm loud. Maybe I'm a little immature. Okay, but I'm fun and I'm authentic, and that's really what I want to bring. The things I want for this podcast still remain so true, even with Madison departing, and that's what I want to hold on to. I know that this podcast could be a flop, and no one at the end of the day has to care or might not care. But what I'm not okay with is not trying or giving my all to something that I am passionate about just because I care what people say. And if I gave up the Authentic Society just because Madison didn't want to do it anymore, then I would be essentially saying I'm giving something up I love and I want to do because I know people aren't going to like me. Okay. Well, I didn't try. And I can live with people not liking me. I can't live with not trying to give something my all when I know I still have it in me. So with all that being said, the things, what do I want to make this podcast? So good question, Jayme. I'll answer it. I know I want to share all the stories. I have an immense amount of family trauma and shit. I want to also start doing vlogs when I travel. I like to travel, and I would like to start doing some vlog styling podcasts. I want to share stories, and I also want to get a lot of you guys, the viewers, in on this podcast. There are so many of you that I have connected with that I would love to get viewer write-ins on your experiences and things that you've gone through, because honestly, the people that have been so positive, I know I'm surrounded by an amazing group of women. There are so many people that are just so positive and kind, and those are the people I want to attract. Non-judgmental women who have been through things, that want to share their perspective, and we can do it in a safe, fun place. That's what I want. I've also been asked if I'm going to have a host. For right now, it will just be me. The occasional sighting of my dog, but really just me. And not to say that there won't ever be a host again or co-host, because I do like having co-host. I think sometimes podcasts work better when you have somebody to banter to. But for right now, just me is going to have to be enough. I also got the question a lot if I was going to start having guests. Yes, I want to start having guests. I love having guests. I love meeting new people and talking to them and getting to hear their experiences. And I want to bring that into the Authentic Society. I want to start really basing a lot of my guests on womanhood that can share their perspectives and be authentic and be vulnerable. So yes, there will be guests in 2025. I already have some fun ideas, some people I want to get on a guest, some people I've been talking to. So I'm excited for that. And I think that's kind of my niche, because for Somewhat Basic, I loved getting guests. It was like the ultimate high to get to talk to somebody that I never thought I would get to talk to, and them sharing about their lives and, letting their fan base hear from them. So guests, yes, 2025. Host, just me. Also, I know that I can't wrap all the things I want for this podcast and answer all of your questions in one video. I kind of kept putting this video off and this podcast off because I kept wanting to make sure what I'm saying is I'm very clear about what I'm saying, but I also want to do it while it was still fresh, because I don't want to filter a lot anymore, and I want to be as authentic as I can be. So sitting down and doing this, I know I'm going to miss some questions. I know I'm not going to be able to answer everything. I know the tea is not going to be being spilt like you want it to, but I knew I needed to come on here and get back into this as quickly as possible, because I know if I just sit on things, then I know myself and I'll overthink it and I'll wallow. And I don't want to do that. I want to be excited about 2025. Was this on my 2025 bingo card? No. Are a lot of things that happen throughout the years are? No. Do I want to turn lemons and make them lemonade? Yes. Do I know that I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position to get hate? Yes. But I also know that I'm putting myself in a vulnerable position to, if I can help or connect with one woman that wants to be here, then that's amazing. I think the internet can be a scary, dark place, but I've connected with so many people, and that brings me just true joy. And when I really think about why I want a podcast, it's because I want to connect with people and I want to talk to people and relate to them and them relate to me. And I think that's the most beautiful thing about womanhood and being authentic. So for this year and for this podcast, I really want to lean into being vulnerable, which is really tough for me. I used to think that vulnerability was a sign of weakness. And if you showed any type of emotion besides being happy or angry, you were weak. And so if you were sad or you cried, then you were a weak person. And that's kind of how I grew up thinking. And so having to rewire my brain that being vulnerable and showing how you feel is not a weakness. It is hard and it is uncomfortable, but also with that vulnerability, you do feel a weight off your chest. I know if I share it with the world and say, hey, I'm imperfect, I already know all these things about me, they can't be used against me. You can't hurt me with something I already know about myself, and I've already accepted, and I'm already learning to love it about myself. Yes, I talk over people. Yes, I'm loud. I'm working on those things, but also I love my flaws. And even if I don't love my flaws, I'm going to figure out how to fucking love them, because I'm stuck with me. Also, I really want to lean in with this podcast and being content. If I have 5 viewers a week that want to listen in and be here and are happy to be here, then I'm going to be so content with that, because 5 people, yes, number wise on the internet, that doesn't seem that big, 5 people. But if you had 5 strangers following you around all the time, curious about what you had to say and wanting to chat with you, you would feel great about yourself. And so instead of looking and valuing myself in numbers, I'm going to be content with what I do have. And I really do have to start learning with that in every aspect of my life. I always like to plan for the future or what ifs, but your life isn't about the what ifs or a future. It is about living in the right now, because I know I am living things right now that I used to pray for. And for that, I need to start learning how to be content with the right now. And, if you've ever seen that TikTok meme where it's like, oh, only 500 people watch your TikTok, but then you put 500 people in the room, that's what contentness feels like, is that you have to adjust your perspective. And that's what I need to do with this podcast. I have to adjust my perspective and be content that I could have 5 listeners or 500 listeners, and whichever way this goes, I'm going to be lucky because I know those 5 listeners or those 500 listeners are going to be badass, awesome, great women or men. And I'm going to love that and be excited for that. And this might have been a curveball and I wasn't expecting this to go like this exactly now, but I know that it's what's meant to be. And so I'm going to figure it out because I'm me. And I've always figured it out. 10 times out of 10, I'm standing here and I've always figured it out. So I know I will do that again, especially with this podcast. What I can promise you is that if you do decide to listen, I'm always going to keep it real with you guys. I know that maybe how me and, Madison split or how her leaving isn't very clear, but that's also because I respect Madison and I consider her a friend still. And even though I could share my side or this or that, it's really not drama, and not everything needs to be a storyline. Not everything needs to be a headline. Her life's in the headlines enough, and I'm never going to add to that. So if you're disappointed, then I'm sorry, not sorry. But if you want to, stick around and join my journey, I promise you that I will give you my all, and I will try the best I can be to be as authentic as possible. And I really just am so thankful for all of the people that have reached out for their support already. It truly means everything to me. There have been so many of you that have just been so kind, and it means everything to me. I promise you that I am looking at those comments and those nice comments on my bad days when I get a hate comment over and over again. So thank you. And if you've made it this far in the episode, I know this might not be a long episode. Maybe I didn't cover everything, but I promise we have all the time in the world. And if you would like to leave a comment telling me what you want to see from this podcast, your thoughts, your opinions, your perspectives, please do. And if you're going to bow out because Madison's not here anymore, then I understand. There's no bad blood. But I really hope you guys do stick around because I think we could create a really cool community. And that's what I'm here to do. So, yes. It's like taking a deep breath and like fresh air to get this all off my shoulders. But yes, thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. There's more to come from me, and I might not have the best way to be able to explain that, but I know with whatever comes, it's going to be authentic it's going to be authentic. And I know that's such an annoying word, but that's what it's going to be. And yeah, I'm excited, nervous, kind of want to throw up some days, but I know that this is going to be the journey I'm supposed to take. So thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching, and I will talk to you guys soon. Bye.